That was weird. That's the first time it happened to me. The thing just crashed. I don't know. But we're going to try again. I booted everything up. So I'll do it from the beginning. Okay? So it's Frankie Russo show. Frankie Russo straight out of Brooklyn. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. So we're back. My thing crashed. I don't know what happened, but it crashed. All right. So March 4th for Trump. There it is. 12 noon at Washington tomorrow. March 4th, March for Trump. It's a Spirit of America rally. March 4th for Trump. At the Washington Monument in D.C. March 4th. March for Trump. Okay? So, I know we talked about this article that came out there. It's kind of funny. This article about Donald Trump brands Democrats hypocrites over Russian links. It's kind of funny. You know? It's kind of funny. What he did over here. DT just like, he went after him. He said, basically, President Donald Trump branded Democrats hypocrites over calls for an investigation into his administration's contacts with Russia, posted a photo on the internet of one of the opposition party leaders, that's Charles, United States Senator, donuts and coffee with Putin. So, and here's his tweets. Donald Trump, here's his tweets. DT's tweets. Okay. DT tweeted, "We should start an immediate investigation into Senator Schumer, Russia and Putin, a total hypocrite." And the other one, Donald Trump, I hereby demand a second investigation. DT's demanding a second investigation after Schumer of Pelosi for her close ties to Russia and lying about it. So that's what's going on, and I believe this whole thing's a ruse. I believe it's really fake. Russia's been trying to hack the election since 2012. They didn't say anything because Obama won. Now they're all saying something because they lost. So, but I think it's deeper than that, based on everything, and we talk about it, and we'll talk about it some more, about all the things that the Obama-Clinton crime family did for Iran, and what the Clinton Foundation did for Russia. I mean, it's just amazing to me, and the strategic alliance between Russia, Syria, and Iran, and everybody with straight faces calling out Trump and trying to say that had anything to do with this election. I think it's really, really, really very, very. It's unconscionable what they're doing to Donald Trump. It really is, I believe. But anyway, we'll talk more about it as this YouTube, my fifth show on YouTube goes forward. Okay, I'm sure this is interesting. So I was talking about this because this was something that it weighed in my mind through the whole time at ABC, when I broadcast at ABC, the 143 shows I did over there. This weighed on my mind. Obama encouraged deep state de facto coup against Trump. Breitbart News interviewed this attorney, Robert Barnes, about the campaign of leaks designed to damage the Trump campaign, the Trump administration, described by some observers as deep state career bureaucrats and holdovers from the Obama administration acting as saboteurs. So I don't know. I mean, and I'll go back to this again. I was talking about this, and the thing just collapsed. The thing, I found this is the model at 77 WABC. This is what we did. A lot of data on this whole thing. A lot. Court papers, judges' decisions, peer-reviewed journal articles, and open source, well-researched open source articles. A lot of data. This is at 77 WABC. We did this. Almost 2 years. This was like the pre-show. So we're over here. I believe it starts over here, you know, right down here. I believe it starts right down here. Morsi. They threw Mubarak out, and this is what was going through my head, you know. They threw Mubarak out. They put Morsi in there, Muslim Brotherhood. I think he was there for about a year. And then Sisi tried to invoke Sharia law. He ended up serving 15 to 20 years in prison for, he's in prison for Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas. Then he went to Gaddafi. That's when things just collapsed, right? The video, I was talking about Libya. Libya, I couldn't understand why the Clinton crime family actually went into Libya, because I saw an article, I think it was a New York Times article, matter of fact, where Gaddafi actually put the P1s and the centrifuges at the feet of Bush, saying, listen, we're not pursuing weapons of mass destruction. Nuclear, those P1s, those centrifuges, which was part of the program, as my understanding, that A.Q. Khan from Pakistan was trying to help Libya, Gaddafi, become nuclear capable, and it fell short because he tried to do it with Iran as well, and he threw the weapons of mass destruction pretty much at the feet of the United States government, and Bush happened to be president, and so I just understand why we went in there. Well, there was things going on with there was actually, he was putting every, according to all published reports, Claire Lopez and others, that this guy Gaddafi was putting the radical Islamists in jail, right? They were in jail. Over 40 years, he coup d'etat Libya, is my understanding, in '69. So what was really going on? I don't know, but we can kind of come up with some sort of statistically significant explanation to some extent, based on Claire Lopez's presentations and Kenneth Tillman and other open source articles that I've read. Well researched, well sourced open source articles. Why did we go into Libya? Didn't make sense, right? The Obama-Clinton crime family. So basically, we started. This is the model at 77 WABC. We started because we're talking about this. They're talking about a silent coup d'etat by the Obama-Clinton crime family, the sabotage of the Trump administration by the Obama holdovers, the Obama-Clinton crime family holdovers. Morsi, right? And now we're talking about Libya, Benghazi, Libya. So like over there, we coup d'etat Operation Zero Footprint, Gaddafi. And what did we do there? Same thing, Muslim Brotherhood, according to Claire Lopez, Transnational Council. Transnational Council was like a freedom fighters for Libya, to free Libya. Mustafa Jalal and Abdel Hakim Belhaj, two Muslim Brotherhood operatives, they were fronting this Libyan Islamic fighting group by Operation Zero, United States Operation Zero Footprint. Saudi Arabia was involved, Qatar was involved. We also had the UAE, and we also had Turkey. So NATO was involved. They were complacent. They allowed the weapons to run because the UAE, according to Claire Lopez, the UAE fronted the money for the weapons. It was a lot of money, millions, hundreds of millions. She claimed up to $1 billion. I mean, it's a lot of weapons. Claire Lopez, 35-year CIA operative. Into Libya, supposed to be Operation Zero Footprint, not to go back to the United States, but another debacle. And a Gaddafi hangover, a Gaddafi holdover general ended up getting killed over these weapons by a Muslim Brotherhood military commander giving the execution order to Abu Qatala, and it's a lot of this stuff is in WikiLeaks, confirmed by WikiLeaks. So we did a hit on Gaddafi. So in essence, we coup d'etat Gaddafi. Listen to this in the Obama administration. We coup d'etat Gaddafi. We pretty much threw Mubarak out. So that was a sign. Well, we did a overt coup d'etat on Gaddafi. Gaddafi wanted to leave and just not get killed. They said no. They wanted to whack. They whacked him. So that was gone. And then we did. He was the prime minister, if I'm not mistaken, of Iraq, and there was a question about his campaign, and we allowed that. It was a very irregular activities about his election. We allowed that to continue. We didn't say anything about that, and we allowed him to stay in power. Iran had Ahmadinejad. He had, I think it was 2009, the early part of the Obama administration, and Obama sat on his hands on that one. And what was the other one? Syria. Now Syria, so that's four. That's four, right? Iraq, Maliki, Morsi, Gaddafi, Ahmadinejad, and now Syria. Syria was a quag. If I'm using this word right, to me it was a quagmire, meaning that it didn't behoove the family to take out Assad because they wanted that nuke deal. And if they tried to take out Assad and they did something like that, there was no way that Iran was going to go along with this game that they were playing. So they put up a good ruse. They went to the Congress claiming that Assad, they claimed that Assad used chemical weapons against his people. They went so in other words, Assad crossed the red line. They went to the Congress, and nothing happened. So people were calling Obama his bluff. So Obama, if I'm not mistaken, issued a authorization of $500 million, hundreds of millions, tens of millions, millions of dollars. I don't know. They're claiming $500 million. I don't know for sure, but a lot of dough. Okay, we could safely say it's a lot of dough going to Syria, assets, everything going to Syria to build the Syrian rebel group, which really was they ended up signing a contract saying they're not going to fire at Assad, they're only going to fire at ISIS, and they had 32, ended up reduced to 9 or 8. They ended up dismantling, giving their weapons to ISIS, and Chuck Hagel was testifying before the oversight committees claiming that they signed a contract, and if Assad fired at them, they're not supposed to fire at Assad. They're only supposed to fire at ISIS. This is the contract that the Syrian rebels signed because they were so concerned about this Iranian nuke deal going through. So John McCain asked Chuck Hagel, who was at the time Secretary of Defense, what happens if the Assad regime fires at this Syrian rebel? So it was a joke, right? What are you going to do? Assad's regime fires at the Syrian rebels. Are they not going to fire back? I mean, this is a joke. So nothing happened in Syria. Turkey is an interesting situation because Turkey is that Erdogan is a Sunni Muslim, conceivably, in all likelihood, I've seen some data, in all probability, a staunch Muslim Brotherhood guy. So He claimed that a coup d'état was initiated by a cleric in Pennsylvania. And is it fake? Is it real? I don't know. There's published reports that it's real. There's published reports that it conceivably could be fake. The Turkey attempted coup d'état. The whole thing was weird. They censored the media. They were censoring people. They were putting people in jail. It was just an excuse to crack down and invoke, because I maybe to try to bring some sort of, maybe bring the country back to conceivably stricter, stringent ruling, I guess, to some extent. They have more control over the country. So I guess that's what that was all about, right? Under the Obama, this has happened during Obama, right? So that's 5. So I'm thinking the United States. I'm going, wow. So the United States, France, Belgium, all of Europe has an infrastructure. So it's hard to, not like Libya, where they can take out the prime minister, or in Iraq. In Europe, they have an infrastructure. So you only have a certain window. The radical Islamists only have a certain window to get in, try to do some damage, try to infiltrate the infrastructure, and then they got a problem, right? Same thing here in America. We got layers. That's why people complain about the politicians, because they know the politicians, they can stand up there like Obama to say there's no radicalism. They're not firing at Obama, right? There's layers before you get to the insulation from the United States government to these radicalisms. It'd be virtually impossible to penetrate the security surrounding our leaders. So it has to be a slow, systemic, silent, covert coup to actually infiltrate the United States. And when you really look at it, that's why this whole thing really raffled my brain. This article by Breitbart News: Obama encouraged deep state de facto coup against Trump. I showed you this article before, Breitbart News. And I'm saying to myself, because I always felt this, like there's always, because when you really think about it, right? Let's look at this. So we got all these, and I always think the leaders of governments, they're always thinking and trying to see how things work out in other countries. So I mentioned 5 countries. 4 were successful coup d'etats. Some were systemic, some were methodical, some were just overt, like Libya, right? Some were subterfuge, like Turkey, conceivably, like Iraq, like Iran with Ahmadinejad, with Iraq, like with Maliki, like with what was the other one? Well, Syria too. I mean, you could say that's a coup d'état too, because in a way we went along with it, right? That's another one. So I think because of the activities of Assad, we went along with it, right? But we got open borders. We got $20 trillion of debt after 8 years of Obama. We got an intelligence agency that is capturing radical Islamists, but because of the laws have been more stringent, been created, written, and put together to be more stringent, if that's the right word, against the FBI investigations of these radical Islamists, so they can't detain them for prolonged periods of time. There's a certain, if it doesn't meet the protocol, they can't detain them for a period of time. They put them back in the field. So they take the human assets and put them back. There's that. That went on with San Bernardino. That went on with, I know, Omar Matin, just to name a few. The Chelsea bomber in New York, Romani, San Bernardino, they were aware of to some extent. The mother, I mean, it's just bizarre, the data that we had on a lot of these isolated hits, which I don't believe they were lone wolves. And I, I have some interesting articles by Paul Spurry, and we could bring them in not today, not tonight, but we're going to call them isolated hits on the homeland. And the culture that was created by the Obama-Clinton crime family, not saying radical Islamic terror. I listened to a video by it's getting kind of late though, right? I'm gonna bring it in now. So I listened to a video by it was a Congressman Lundgren from California. He was questioning a deputy secretary of, at the time, Janet Napolitano was the Secretary of Homeland Security, and this deputy was being questioned by Congressman Lundgren, I think from California, and he asked him, "Are we at war with radical Islam?" And he couldn't say the word radical Islam. He couldn't. I mean, it was mind-boggling. So the culture that was created by the Obama-Clinton crime family was, I believe, conceivably of like, it was like a brainwashing of the American people, basically. Because every time a incident came through and breached the security protocols of this country, they were always worried. They were always protect Muslim Americans. He was protecting the Islamic umbrella that conceivably, based on the Holy Land Foundation trial, has breached this country. The 246 Muslim Brotherhood 501c3 front organizations. That's documented, court papers, judges' decisions. So that's another element that makes me think about this silent coup d'etat. Now, we got that, and we talked about the FBI guidelines, and then when we go into the actual the Obama-Clinton crime family administration, and we look at all of the Muslim Brotherhood operatives in high-ranking positions conceivably in the Homeland Security Department, the third largest cabinet position in the third largest position in the cabinet is the Department of Homeland Security, a $55 billion budget, right? And dudes like Mohammed al-Abari was like a senior fellow, Muslim Brotherhood operative in the Obama-Clinton crime family. But that's just one of many that was put on the Obama-Clinton crime family administration, the Obama-Clinton administration. So with that going on, right, we got the Department of Homeland Security, according to Congressman Stephen Lynch, they had to fire the NSA because I think the NSA falls under the Department of Homeland Security. He's a congressman from Massachusetts, if I'm not mistaken, Democrat, and he was infuriated by the way the 72 employees of the Department of Homeland Security were on terror watch lists. And to tell you how much the brainwashing was going on with the mainstream media, they were saying that doesn't mean it. That's nothing. It could be anybody. They said, well, Ted Kennedy was on a terror watch list. Anybody could be on a terror watch list, right? But that's not true. The Blind Sheik was on 3 terror watch lists. I mean, I could go on and on. It's my understanding Ramzi Youssef, one of the major perpetrators of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, was on a terror watch list. I mean, it goes on and on and on. 72 employees of the Obama-Clinton Department of Homeland Security were on terror watch lists, right? So that's another symptom of a severely breached infrastructure in the United States. They call the enemy from within. And then we had this other thing, which to me was like, Philip Haney was one of the original co-founders, because remember the Department of Homeland Security came out of the 9/11, September 11, 2001. This department was created, it's my understanding, and Philip Haney was one of the co-founders of that department. And he's going all over mainstream media, going on all the major networks, claiming that his data that he accumulated, which goes all the way back to the times when he was over in Iraq, and he was doing investigation for us to get a better understanding on this radical Islamic terror, so we can better protect the men and women, America and the people of America. So he was claiming that the data of the Department of Homeland Security was scrubbed. All of the data was released, and there was a lot of Muslim Brotherhood operatives in that Department of Homeland Security under the Obama administration, many. And the New York Post mentioned one. His name was James Brennan. I'm like, who's James Brennan? I couldn't find James Brennan. The only guy that came up, James Brennan, was John Brennan, former CIA director. And then I went to the John Brennan bio, and it said Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security, John Brennan. He held that position. He had the same position that they had in the op-ed piece that was in the Post, claiming that someone within the Obama Clinton administration scrubbed radical Islamic information off, scrubbed the data off the servers. Conceivably, I'm assuming it was on the server, and they scrubbed it. They deleted it. They got rid of it. And Philip Haney said if that data was there, he would have prevented San Bernardino. He would have prevented Orlando with Omar Mateen, San Bernardino with Saeed Farouk and Tashfeen Malik, and the Romney, Ramani, the Chelsea bomber. Goes on and on. He would have prevented many of these terror hits. Well, for the sake of discussion, we're going to call them isolated terror hits, which I don't believe, but I don't believe they're lone wolves. But for the sake of discussion, we're gonna so we can just understand and describe them. Am I saying? So we can understand them. That's better. So we can better understand and delineate between the global and the domestic. Because I don't believe any hits that came over here were isolated loon jobs, just going Allah Akbar and killing people. I believe it. 90+% of these terror hits are orchestrated from a global position in the world. Originate as I look in, there's a lot of significant data I think that could support that. But what's really interesting is, because what we're trying to talk about is this thing about, because I always feared this, encouraged deep state de facto against Trump. And I always feared this Islamist takeover in America. Because then Obama, from the scrubbing of the radical Islamic info in the Department of Homeland Security, which conceivably was done by John Brennan, I don't know. He's a very, in his own, you ever hear his Arabic? Crazy. Crazy. Maybe it could be, maybe the white version of Obama, you know? It's crazy. Interesting. So then Obama held this like media blackout on a violent extremism symposium, and had all of these radical Islamists, Muhammad Magid from the Holy Land Foundation. He had Omar Hamad from the Holy Land Foundation trial, unindicted co-conspirators inside the White House. And I know I think there were one or two of these symposiums, and I know at least one of them had a media blackout. They call it violent extremism symposium, and Obama is going to use the Holy Pulpit, the presidency, to make the argument that we're not at war with Islam, we're these are not violent. Islam's a religion of peace. Defending Islam, it's crazy. So I was thinking, with all of these various things that went on, both domestically and our policies in the North African, Middle Eastern region, I was very concerned that we conceivably could have been looking at, and this is what I think this is, because we had a lot of the Obama holdover. Because what probably would have happened is, if Hillary Clinton would have won, because conceivably, obviously we know that she leans in that direction as well. I mean, there's a lot of data to support that contention, and she agreed with all of the policies of Obama in the North African and Middle Eastern region, what I went over briefly, a macro view. So it is conceivably, and I thought like the model was Egypt, and the Washington Post had an article calling it the Islamist takeover when Morsi took over, and espionage. He was charged and convicted of espionage. So we got lucky with Trump. We got lucky because, but for the grace of God, if Trump didn't win and Hillary Clinton, oh my God, those Islamists would have gotten more. They would have more power. So we'd be looking at them scrubbing documents, nothing happening. 72 employees of the Department of Homeland Security on terror watch lists. We have a president that can't say radical Islam, and Americans are getting killed, from workplace violence in Fort Hood to Marines getting killed in Chattanooga, to the Orlando shootings, and then the Orlando killings with the Omar Mateen and Afghan Taliban, followed was with Afghan Taliban sympathizer, and it just goes on and on. And then we have radical Islamists that are in this country that actually killed Americans, and we knew about them. The FBI put them back into the field. We took them, they investigated them, but because of the stringent guidelines that the Obama-Clinton administration put out, the FBI could not detain these people. We know who to, and then that's the other problem with Islam is we know to a large extent we know who the radical Islamists are, but we don't know who are the radical Islamist sympathizers, who are the Enrique Marquez's, who materially supported San Bernardino's hit, or the mother and father of Saeed Farouk, or the uncle of Saeed Farouk, the brother-in-law. I mean, it went from the shooters, expanded to half a dozen to a dozen people that was involved in the attack. And the case of San Bernardino is a great study of what the offshoot of this Obama-Clinton policies on American Homeland Security and how they deal with these radical Islamists is the fact that not only was there many indications with the pipe bombs, but the fact that neighbors, because Obama and the Obama-Clinton administration was pretty much brainwashing with mainstream media the American people about Islam and radical Islam and Muslims, and worried about, under the code words, Muslim Americans, and we're not defending America and Americans, that neighbors are afraid to be calling racist. And meanwhile, 5, 10 pipe bombs, something's wrong over here. So we were looking at, conceivably, we might have been looking at a systemic, methodical coup d'etat by the Obama-Clinton crime family if Clinton would have won. And we're looking at now and we're looking at it right now with Trump, what they're doing to Trump. Interesting. I'm not, it's just thoughts, putting pieces together, saying maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but I thought it's just interesting food for fodder. So just to move this along, I wouldn't. To move this along, I promised you I'd have some stuff on. Okay, here's another one that I found. But that's interesting. We're going to take that up again. I'm going to keep circling that wagon because it evokes a lot of thoughts to me. This is one. There's the complaint, and basically it was an indictment by in October a couple of years ago, over of 2000, and this thing came to fruition. Paper. Oh, an unsealed indictment in July of 2011. So when people say, like we discussed yesterday about, I had an example of a radicalism is that lied about their affiliation with terrorist organizations. He answered no, and they ended up arresting him. This gentleman defended Fazi Awad, known as Frank Mariano Bocci, willingly and knowingly used and attempted to use a false, forged, or counterfeit U.S. passport, carrying the false number in the name of Frank Mariano Bocci, in order to gain admittance into the state of Israel for the purpose of conducting a bombing on behalf of the designated terrorist organization Hezbollah. Now this, aka Frank Marino Bocci, is accused of a phony passport to try to travel to Israel to detonate a bomb for Hezbollah. And he's listed on one of FBI's most wanted terrorists. So just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with. Here's another one. I have a few here. We'll do, what time is it? We'll do one more. Let me see, get a little more involved. I got 5 of them here. I could do more tomorrow, Sunday night. Okay, here's one. And then I'll bring these forward on Sunday night. Tomorrow I won't be on the air. Saturday I'm off. 11 individuals and 1 company charged in Florida with exporting prohibited articles to Syria. Department of Justice press release. Okay. I got a lot of this data. I got all this data from investigative project cases, and this one here, Ali Kabi, a U.S. permanent resident currently residing in Bulgaria, Aras Kabi, Mahajan Kabi of Miami, were charged allegedly participating in a conspiracy to violate the International Economic Powers Act. They were exporting Syrian. They were utilizing. Exporting the dual-use goods were exported to Syrian Arab Airlines, the Syrian Government Airlines, which is an entity designated as a foreign terrorist entity, with Hezbollah and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. So basically, according to court records, Ali Kabi ran the Bulgarian office of AW Tronics, a Miami, Florida export company that was managed by Arash Kabi, and which shipped and exported various aircraft parts and equipment to the Syrian Arab Airlines. And the compliance officer, in order to facilitate these exports by submitting false and misleading electronic export information to federal agencies. So basically, which eventually was going to end up in the hands of the Hezbollah and the Iranian Military Guard Corps. So this is Department of Justice, the investigative efforts of the FBI, the DOC, the ICE, Defense Criminal Investigative Service, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So basically, this is, you can say this is an FBI investigation, and FBI, when they're investigating, it's no joke. So, but anyway, we had a nice discussion today, and we will continue. I'm sorry about the first video I did. Something happened. I started talking about Libya, and the thing just crashed. So we were talking about the systemic silent coup d'etat of the Obama-Clinton administration, which I believe could be something. The elements are there for it to be something worth the discussion, and I'm going to continue to circle the wagons on that as well. Okay, so that's it for now. We give a few examples of Hezbollah in America, and we go back. Sometimes it goes back to the early 2000s, and sometimes the indictments, like the one of the two that we mentioned today, the indictment didn't come down to July of 2011. It's really the stuff I'm going to come out with every show. A little. I'm doing Hezbollah right now. I'm going to do Hezbollah for a little more, and then I'm going to bring in Hamas, more of a Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. I mean, I got so much. It's crazy. But anyway, it's crazy stuff that if we really, I mean, it's amazing. It's the infiltration. People, our security protocols have been breached. Anything profound. We know that. And I'm concerned that if there's ever a collapse with our infrastructure at any point in time, who knows? Thank God we got Trump, man. That's why Trump is so important here, because Trump sees it. That's what all this is all about, I believe. But anyway, we'll talk more. This is the Frankie Russo Show. Yeah. We're scope in about 5 minutes. So you all could come check me out, Frankie Russo 1 live scope. And/or I'll see you Friday. I'll see you Sunday night about 8:30. Frankie Russo Show. Yeah. I'll see you in the future.